And the story is that the Detroit Lions are in ongoing talks and negotiations with the Washington football team. How incredible would that be? There's quite a few names right now that I'm sure, popping off into your brain. Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Kendall Fuller, you name it. There's quite a bit there to pluck from Washington, who has an incredible defense this season. They're just not able to put it all together. And I think Washington is finally going to enter somewhat of a rebuild and keep a few core pieces and shed the rest. So the good news, and I apologize about the audio. I'm still working through new equipment. So there could be some extra breathing. There could be a few extra noises. We'll have it figured out and dialed in no time. But stick around, and I promise you it'll only get better. So let's talk about it. The Detroit Lions are on the trade block. The trade deadline is going to be coming up here at the end of the month, and the Lions are thin. They need help with cornerback. They need help with safety. They still haven't, done anything about losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And they need somebody on the opposite of Aiden Hutchinson or somebody on the interior that's actually going to get a push. The biggest question that I have for Brad Holmes is, why did we take Broderick Martin if he's not going to play? A third-round pick. Why did you waste all of those fifth-round picks for someone that's not going to play? And it is what it is. Look, he might take a season to develop, but he's not going to develop if he doesn't get in the game. So what I'm looking at right now is the Lions need to bring in somebody that's a stud, somebody that can step in, someone they're going to have to pay, and someone that can help transition this defense into a true top 10 defense, because they're there. They have the pieces. They got their butts kicked, just this last Sunday in Baltimore. But that one game's not going to hinder this season, and what I'm about to say next, I think, is going to reshape it. The Detroit Lions, first and foremost, and again, this is all reportedly, and none of this has been finalized. But reportedly, the Lions have denied any trade options or negotiations involving Chase Young. So I'm going to say that right away. I'm sure a lot of you just jumped off because you're not happy. You would love to have Chase Young in the Honolulu Blue, and I think a lot of us would. But the initial negotiations between Washington and Detroit have involved Kendall Fuller and Montez Sweat. Look, Montez Sweat's incredible. He's an amazing athlete. And so is Kendall Fuller. But then, as some of us saw yesterday or the day before on Sunday, Jonathan Allen stepped up to the mic and he was quite angry. He had a extremely profane-laced conversation with a reporter where he basically said he wants to get the heck out of Dodge. He wants nothing to do with Washington anymore. He's had enough, to say it in simple words. And that sparked a change. So the Washington, again, this is all reported out of Washington's beat writers today, about 2 p.m., that the Washington general manager then picked up the phone and called Brad Holmes and said, look, we're talking about Kendall Fuller and Montez Sweat. Can I interest you in Jonathan Allen, and what would that look like? Well, let me tell you what Kendall Fuller and Montez Sweat was looking like. And again, this is all reported. I don't have any actual statements from inside Allen Park at this time, but a third and a sixth round pick for Kendall Fuller and Montez Sweat. I don't know if that's all 2024, if it's a combination 24, 25. I don't know if it involves conditional, picks to see if, one, these guys play and how much they play. But then this change happened. And then Jonathan Allen became part of the deal. Washington wants to move him. They're respecting Jonathan Allen's wishes. He had a conversation with the GM, and they had a great conversation yesterday. And he called the GM back, Jonathan Allen did, and he said, nope, I think I'd like to move on. So there you have it. Jonathan Allen is on the move. And he would be an incredible piece to this Detroit Lions defense that severely needs an internal pass rush between the tackles. So Washington picked up the phone, called Brad Holmes, injected Allen into the deal, and asked what that would look like. And again, reportedly, that is now been offered by Brad Holmes to be a third and a fourth round pick for Kendall Fuller and Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat is left off the negotiating table for now. Remember, that's opposed to a third and a sixth. So Jonathan Allen is worth 2 more slots, but we don't know cap consideration. We don't know, how much salary that Washington is going to pay to move him, if any at all. But here's what I can tell you about Allen. Former first-round pick in 2017, pick number 17 out of Alabama. He's known as a pure run stopper. I mean, the guy has an amazing athletic ability. His reach is incredible. He's able to reach around when he's engaged in a block and pull down the running back. He's a complete game changer. He disrupts the offensive line every single play. He's somebody that you have to scheme against. And I could only imagine, and I know exactly what you're thinking. You want to have a defensive end matched up on the outside of, the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. But here's what I'm going to ask you. Imagine having somebody like Jonathan Allen lined up next to Aiden Hutchinson. Just imagine for a moment that now one side of your defense is completely dominant and the other side is not that bad. So this is going to elevate this defense beyond where we thought that it would have been with a Broderick Martin or anybody else. This is going to go up to, like a top 3, top 4 defensive line just by adding Allen. And I'm making that call right now, if it happens. Look, Allen's he's a pregame speech kind of guy. He's somebody that's going to get you riled up. He's somebody that's going to play, for his team, for his brothers on the field. He's exactly what fits the Dan Campbell and the Brad Holmes culture. He's been voted a top 52 athlete this season. And those are peer votes, the top 100 rankings. So he's no slouch. He averages 5.5 sacks a season, 6.5 if you want to take out his rookie season where he only got into 5 games. But again, I'm going to say it. Imagine him next to Aiden Hutchinson. The good news is Washington runs a 4-3 base defense. So the schemes are going to be almost identical. The verbiage is just a little bit different. And Washington also runs a 5-1-5 defense, whereas the Lions run, the 5-2-4 or the 4-2-5, depending on what alignment they're in. So it's all relative, right? Allen will be just fine. He's been in the league a long time. He'll be able to step in and have a huge impact. The second guy, Fuller, both these guys, 28 years old. So you're getting, experience. They're not way beyond their means as far as age. But Fuller, he's 28, drafted in 2016, round 3, pick 21. The weird thing is he played 2 seasons in Washington. And then he was traded to the Chiefs where he won a Super Bowl. And then he was traded back to Washington. Or his contract ran out and he went back to Washington. Be that as it may, he's a Super Bowl winner, so he knows what it takes. He's played on an excellent defense in the Andy Reid system, right? So he's also known as a ball hawk. He's averaging, a couple of picks a season. And again, if you look at his best seasons, he's a complete winner too. But he kind of gives you ebbs and flows to his game, just like most players do. Not everybody can be consistent. He's kind of one of those guys that is going to play at an elite level 1 game or 2 games in a row, and then he might kind of fall off a little bit, in the 3rd or 4th game. But I would say that's a heck of a lot better than what we're getting out of Will Harris right now. And it's just sad because Will Harris was playing pretty well, but as you saw in this Baltimore game, Will Harris was targeted. He was picked out as the weak link, and it was proven that he was the weak link. And not having Jerry Jacobs in there, and I hate to even say that, was a huge detriment to this defense. We need another shutdown corner, or as close to one as we can get. When we're talking contracts, see, that's where this gets sticky because we don't know all of, the negotiating factors here. But let's just say it was a straight up 3rd and a 4th for Allen and Fuller. The Lions would be absorbing about $16 million a year in 24 and 25 for Allen. And who knows what they would be absorbing for this season. But they would have Allen through 2025, which is also very intriguing because then that means the Lions still have their 1st and their 2nd round pick to be able to do what they need to do. And they just solidified another key piece to this defense in the front line. Right? As far as Fuller goes, this is his last season. And again, when you look at the trade post June 1, that's where things get a little interesting. It might cost the Lions, $4, $5, $6 million to bring Fuller into. Look, I've said it before. The Lions are thin. They have a lot to address. Safety, corner, they're both positions that are needed. CJ Gardner-Johnson is gone. Mosley is gone. CJ may come back, but it's a bad idea to wait. Why wait and have another Mosley situation happen where CJ Gardner comes back and then he's lost again? I don't want to see that happen. So I hope that Brad Holmes doesn't stay pat. And again, from all angles of this and what we're seeing and what we're being told is that there's active negotiations going on for Jonathan Allen and Kendall Fuller. Would be an incredible upgrade to this defense. A couple other players that I'm going to talk about real quick. I'm just going to throw them out. There are other guys that are being shopped around. Cornerback Patrick Surtain. Of course, he would be an incredible athlete to bring into the Detroit Lions team, but he's just going to be a half a season rental, and then he's going to want probably, $16, $17, $18 million a year. Dante Jackson from the Panthers. He's probably a 4th or a 5th round, pick value for trade. Defensive end Brian Burns from the Panthers. He's a 1st and a 4th. They lost out. If the Panthers were going to shop him, they should have shopped him last season. The Rams offered 2 first-round picks. They're not going to get that this season. They'll be lucky to get a 1st and a 4th. Lions desperately need another wide receiver. As we all know that Marvin Jones left the team for personal family reasons today, he's been released. And with that, the Lions are down a wide receiver, and they really need to find another one. So Marquise Brown from the Cardinals is my favorite option right now today. That could change tomorrow. I have a 3rd round value on Marquise Brown. But again, we can't do it all. We can't bring in all these guys. So if it were me, I would hope that the Lions find a receiver, a defensive tackle, and a cornerback at least by the trade deadline. They're going to have to restructure some contracts. The Lions only have about $7 million in available space right now. It doesn't mean they can't work out some contracts with these guys and give them big signing bonuses. And that's just how it works in the NFL. So that's all I had for you tonight. I'd love to know in the comments, what do you think? Are the Lions going to upgrade? Is Brad Holmes going to stand pat and not do anything for his 3rd trade deadline? Or are the Lions finally going to get it together? Go after some big targets before the trade deadline and take a run all the way to the Super Bowl. They have an opportunity. I know it's early to talk Super Bowl. We need to make the playoffs first, and I think we'll get there no problem. It's just where we end up is the question. And I feel like our chances are going to incrementally get bigger and better if the Lions bring in some help. Because they clearly didn't have it on Sunday versus Baltimore. And that's the level of play that we're going to see week 15, 16, 17, and in the playoffs. It's only going to get more important to bring in bigger, better guys. All right, look, this channel is supported by everybody that's watching right now. And I'm going to ask you, please look down. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Please share it, like it, help us out, help us grow. We're trying to get to 1,000 by December 1st. We'd love for you to be the next one that subscribes if you haven't already. And if you have, we really appreciate it. We thank you. Rock On Detroit Lions is on his way, and so are our Detroit Lions. All right, everybody. I hope you all have a great night. Take care, and go One Pride.